that it's really important to look 3 years into the future and say, what does 3 years look like? What are your goals in 3 years? Do you have them written down? Do you know the cost of them? But like, really, do you? Make sure you set those goals and make sure you know exactly what those goals are. Like literally to the point where my current goal, I changed my password to what that goal is. I had a marketing business. I sold websites. I sold coupon books door to door, sold roofing, kind of done it all. And the 15 years of Poo Crew is just the thing that stuck. A family member was like, texted my wife, I saw Daniel in a parking lot selling coupon books. They're gonna think you're crazy.
Welcome back to the Rise Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Hani Mohari. I'm the CEO and founder of Hani Mobile. Today, I have a special guest. I have Daniel Diment. He's the owner and CEO of Poo Crew. So he's helping people out there, dog owners picking up their poop. It's a very interesting business model. I never knew about it. So this is a pleasure, Daniel. I think me and you have been talking for a while now.
Yeah.
And it's finally, we made it happen, man. So thank you for being on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. You get to talk about shit. Let's go. Just break the ice.
Hey, let's do it, man. So, Daddy, you've been a business owner for 15 years, man, which is a very long time, right? So, how did you start Poo Crew, and what made you get into that pet business ultimately?
It's a great question. I've actually been a business owner for about 17 years, and I was kind of an entrepreneur before it was cool. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew that for me, for my personality, that was kind of like the only way out. And so prior to Poo Crew, I had a marketing business. I sold websites. I sold coupon books door to door. I sold roofing, kind of done it all. And the 15 years of Poo Crew is just the thing that stuck. It's just the success that people now know me by.
Yeah. And Poo Crew is not like, because I was telling you earlier, picking up dog poop was like, nobody really knows that you can actually make money doing this and you can serve clients. What did you pick that specific niche? Like how did you discover that?
Lots of searching, lots and lots of searching, just trying out different business models, just trying different businesses. It was always a search to find what fit best for me. And yeah, it's just what stuck, I guess.
Yeah. And did you think that, 15 years or 17 years ago, when you started a company, that the market has been completely shifted. It's been so many different changes. So when you got into that field, what was how has things evolved since that time and now?
15 years ago when I started Poo Crew, we were the only people in the city that we opened in. And now you can find 5 or 10 people in some of the cities that we're located in. The reach, especially since COVID, of the business model, because it was massive in the States 35 years ago. And that's where I originally found it online. Now in the last few years since COVID, people were looking at work at home jobs. People were getting laid off. The concept of the gig work, Uber, skip the dishes, those things has made it a lot easier. And it's also made it a lot easier in regards to marketing to people because they've seen this concept before. They are more acceptant to services. So it's definitely changed. It'd be a little easier if I was in the US because the US is a little bit more acceptant of services. They have people that come door to door and sell them bug sprays and stuff, right? Mice control, and they're used to those things, especially in warmer climates. So they definitely are more acceptant than we are here. But with it's easier to find staff now because of the gig work. And it's also a little bit easier to find the clients because they may have already been marketed to. So that's the big shift in my industry. And then there's now coaching programs for just pooper scooper businesses, which is cool and crazy. And it's made me work a lot harder now, but that's okay.
They tell me that whenever you're starting a business, like how much did you start Poo Crew with? A lot of times nowadays people tell you, you need 5,000, you need 10,000. Tell us a little bit about that, some of the things that you've seen during those times.
Yeah. Well, I started Poo Crew with probably less than $1,000. I think the first big expense, and that's kind of what I base it off of, is that first big expense in the first home show that I went to, right? You had the $500 for the booth and you had the $500 for your marketing materials and shirts, right? And so it was about $1,000. The best thing with pooper scooping is, anyone can do it. Not that you should necessarily hire anyone, but anyone can pick up a shovel and then springboard yourself into learning the rest.
And probably a lot of failures along the way as well, too.
Everything has failures. We were talking about setting up the podcast. It's like it doesn't matter what business you go in. If you think it's going to be simple, in order to grow it, in order to scale it, in order to, probably reach your goals, there's always going to be failure.
And what's been that like, especially growing? Because I know I'm guessing now 15 years you've been, you had to grow your team as well too. So how is that evolution of starting by yourself as an entrepreneur then having to grow? And
I think the first realization that I had, and this will go into your question about the outsourcing that I do, was the realization that like I couldn't scoop poop, drive around, hire people, answer the phones, and be sane. Like it wasn't going to scale. So I was literally listening to Tim Ferriss's book, 4-Hour Workweek. And within that week, I had my first outsourced staff hired, listening in my ear while I was taking calls, and then trained my first person that way. The thing that we're working on now, that's like, you always talk about continuing to be the student. So, and I think that's super important because, you're going to have a different failure now, and you might have learned that lesson at that point at the start of your career. And that lesson continues to come up and again and again and again, even if you've learned it, but it's different at every scale of business. So now it's like, okay, the last 3 years have been fantastic. I have an amazing office team. We've locked down some really amazing technicians. We've locked down given some people some amazing opportunity that they may never have had. We've created jobs. And now it's like, okay, so how do we do that again and again? But my capacity is at max for how many people I can teach and coach. Now I need to teach and coach the people under me for them to coach someone. I was like, well, we need to start back at scratch. We need to start back at scratch with how they develop systems and procedures and how they're going to manage those staff. So I've learned it. Now I'm teaching them to learn it, right? So you're learning those lessons over and over again. They just change somewhat.
No, I really like that. You kind of started and then you implemented the systems. You thought somebody else, and now you're essentially in that space where you want to be able to teach that person. They can. But tell me, like in the, I like to say entrepreneurship, you got to go through the trenches. And the trenches is like those beginning days where you had to essentially pick up poop by yourself, with no teams. And I think that's where the failure, like you talked about earlier, the podcast, the things you kind of got to go through when you're setting up the space. What's that been like? That constant waking up every single day, knowing that this is what you're going to be doing in those beginning stages.
I mean, a lot of asking friends for help because you can't find staff. It's like my friends would start ignoring me in the spring because they're like, I don't want to help anymore. It's not glamorous work, but that's the reason why the industry exists. So I think that the big thing there is you're going to feel alone, and your friends and stuff will help you for a certain period of time, or they might think you're crazy. I think back to a moment when a family member was like, texted my wife. It's like, I saw Daniel in a parking lot selling coupon books. It's like, they're going to think you're crazy. But those are the skills that got me the ability to sell my service online, to hire the staff, to hire the people to do the work. So it's like, you're always going to have those moments. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. So essentially you were able to just coupon codes, meaning when you were first starting the business, promoting it to people, right? And
I had a big transition where I was I had a marketing company where I was selling these coupon books for other businesses. And then we were transitioning out of that and into the pooper scooping because it really takes off in the spring. And so that was a big deal. And it's like all of the skills you're going to learn from one business is likely to translate pretty well. And the door-to-door sales were a big one, right? Being able to talk to 1 million people, being told no 150 times a day. It's like you're going to have those trials and tribulations. And I guess the thing that gets me through that is just the concept in direct marketing sales where they talk about law of averages. It's like you're going to get 90 no's to get those 10 yeses, or like how much is that no worth to you in order to make your income for the day. And so like maybe that no, the sale isn't worth the $100. It's like that no is worth $5. And so you got to earn your money through all those no's to earn that.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you. I think nowadays sales and marketing is like the bloodline of everything that you do in the beginning, and then you have leadership at the end. So door to door knocking and going out there, I think it's because you had to do it to kind of experience it. And a lot of entrepreneurs or founders that I talk to, they always tell me I was doing door to door, I was doing that, talking. So a lot of it was in sales, and then it transitioned into getting into a business. So it's very interesting. Daniel, tell me, what is the mindset that it takes to be doing it for that long, right? And to just keep doing it every single year, to come back again and again and again, right? What's kind of like, what's that, man? What's that been like, that process?
I think it's a lot of, I mean, sometimes you're really alone, like I mentioned. Sometimes you have a lot of support, and it's definitely up and down. The roller coaster of business is up and down. The mindset is taking a step back and realizing that you're going to have them, and then finding something within it that you love. Like there was a point in Poo Crew that like I hated my business, right? It's like, so what do I hate about it? Now how do I solve it? And so you're always kind of going through like finding the bottleneck of where you're at in business, where you're at mentally, right? And I think that you just have to realize that like you're going to feel alone, but you're going to get through it, I guess.
Yeah. And you're a systems guy as well too, I'm guessing. Like that's kind of what I'm guessing when you started building the business.
I don't think I realized I was good at systems because I was just very risk averse. We were the first and probably still the only scooping company that tracks our technicians as much as we do. Like we GPS, photo, video track them. They have live support with our office. So we're very tech heavy. And that was just a matter of just trying to be risk adverse, trying to make sure that the families that we were serving, the dogs, these are these people's children sometimes, right? Sometimes they don't have kids and this is their family. Whether they have kids or not, this is their family. And just keeping them safe was just such a huge priority for me, and making sure that we were accountable to them, whether it was just locking their gate or making sure that, they knew we came, like that maybe their camera didn't fire at their house. It's like, yeah, but that's okay. We've got it. We've got the data. Here's the video of them walking out of your yard. Here's a video of your clean yard. Oh, your shed is slightly falling over. Just want to make sure that nail that's sticking out isn't going to hurt your dog. And this is what we did on this date. And being able to show the client that, just show that we're completely transparent, it gains a lot of trust.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think in any business, it's trust and transparency, right? I like to call it creates longevity. So we build enough trust and people know you, and, you kind of keep that going. People refer you in the end. So when you're growing Poo Crew, right? We get right now, how many locations do you have, and how many?
Yeah, I mean, we're from Alberta, so both Edmonton and Calgary, all the way to Ottawa, all the major cities, and then like obviously GTA. It depends on how you want to measure that, but it's about 7 cities. So yeah.
And you started in Winnipeg. Yeah,
I actually started in Regina. So I was living in Regina. I lived in Regina for 14 years. I went to school there, and then my wife actually came to Winnipeg for her master's. And so we moved here, and I'd already had Poo Crew here. And then this is where, the groundwork is and where I am. But our office is all remote. So like I've got a guy in Alberta, I've got a guy in the Philippines, and I've got a guy in Honduras. I've got a lady in Mexico, and they run the business.
Wow. So you literally just Regina is very small. People don't know it's a small city.
It's about like what, 230, 240,000 right now, if I had to estimate. But like Regina's been really great to me. We've made lots of mistakes. We've been super slow. People have thought, oh, is this a real business? You tackle that, especially in a new industry. But Regina's been really great for us because it is a small community, and you have the ability to, make a mistake and fix it. And the city still supports us amazingly. Really, really, like, not that I'm less happy for any client, but Regina's been really amazing because, you get the chance to make that mistake and come back, and it's still our biggest city.
Yeah. So Daniel, tell me, as a founder, what's that been like to scale from Regina, then Winnipeg, then you say GTA, and like pretty much across Canada. How is that? What's that transition been like? 'Cause it's got to be, you know, like you talked about earlier, a lot of mistakes, a lot of failures.
If you can get some level of systemization and the structures that work, moving cities is not, for this type of business, is not that crazy of an idea. Now, I don't know that, like, some people want to start like 30 different businesses and just be the easy CEO of all of them. It just splits. So we went across Canada for the reason is I wanted to diversify my clientele, right? I wanted to try things in other locations, but if people like really double down, like, you don't need to expand. Like, Regina's 220,000, Winnipeg is close to 1 million. It's like we still have more clients in Regina than we do Winnipeg. We still have more clients in Winnipeg at 1 million than we do in GTA. So every city comes with like a different dynamic. And so like Ottawa was a disaster. It's like we opened in Ottawa during COVID. Well, assuming that the majority of people there, or a good chunk of them, are working for government, they were at home during COVID. We didn't grow. That news didn't spread about us. And then hiring there was crazy. Every city's so much different.
That's the great way to kind of, you know, figure out which market is which. But like you said, you know, Regina is still your bread and butter, essentially.
Yeah.
People think it's small, but you're still serving clients. Yeah. So let's talk about, Danny, that founder. Let's say someone who wants to grow a business, right? Like you have done. There's always going to be a bottleneck in any business, right? Sometimes it could be sales. Sometimes it could be marketing. What do you see the transition has been like for your journey, where it's been like, okay, this part right here, I need to work on this part. You know, there's always those about. So yeah, what has been those it takes when you're growing a business like that?
At first, my struggle was marketing for sure. And then I took a lot of courses and went to a lot of conferences, and I already had a little bit of a background in sales, right? That being said, like today, the bottleneck is our technicians, but we can't hire more technicians unless my office knows what to do. So now we're completely going into systems and processes and procedures for that. It's like before, at the start, I was like, I had processes for, you know, making sure the client was safe. We built our own app. There was no app in the market. So we built our own pooper scooper app. We call it a crap app. Like, we had to build those. And I didn't really realize that I was building these systems and processes. And then we just dialed it into an app. And then now today it's like, well, I can't get more technicians because I don't have enough office people to train them. So it's now, how do I, like, if the problem is that the office is now the bottleneck, it's not the actual technicians. So now it's like, okay, how do I get my office staff to be able to manage like I manage, right? So you're always doing the exact same things everywhere. Once you have your system for your marketing, you've got it. Then you have your system for hiring, you've got it. But then you get someone else to do it. And you're like, oh, but I know how to do it here. But I can teach them how to do it, but I can't teach 5 more people how to do it, right? So that's where I think you're like, I keep bringing this up a lot because I feel as if people would really, really complicate things. I was just talking to someone downstairs about this. It's like things get really overcomplicated. It's like, oh, I want to run this new marketing program. I want to find this new shiny object, and I want to recreate the wheel. But it's like, you can just repackage the things you already had. You just have to look at it from a different light, because the success that ultimately started you off, that got you where you're going, is probably the similar success that you're going to get from repackaging those ideas and making sure you're on the right track. Otherwise, we can go really far left or right and not know where we are anymore, right? We get distracted by, like, I brought this camera today and microphone to add on to this. It's like, yeah, that was a distraction. I don't have time to do podcasts. I don't have the energy to learn how to do the setup like you did today, and the stress of that before, and then having a good interview. I was like, by the time I got my lights and everything set up, I was like, I'm exhausted. How can I do a good interview, right? It's like focusing on what you're good at. So like if you're doubling down here, keep doubling down because it's working for you.
Yeah. That's a great perspective, man. I really like it because that's something I struggle with. Like I said, it's transparency is always important when you're starting a business. Let's say those first couple of years, and you're seeing a little bit of success, but then 22nd year, you're like, oh, how, like you talked about earlier, just do what you did in the beginning, like how you got here.
Yeah.
And Mubarak talks a lot about that as well too. He's another mentor. So that's kind of the bottleneck. I feel like it's really the distractions because nowadays, it's like focus and clarity. So how have you been able to maintain that? Because you've been doing this, I don't know for how long now. It's like I'm guessing you also have your wife as well too, and you're growing that business with her. And so what's that been like for because nowadays everybody wants it fast, man.
The first thing is to realize that you're not going to get it fast. It's like I think that's super important. I've been doing this for 15 years. I thought within 5 years I'd be a massive business and I'd be in multiple locations. It's like, no. It's like I had to eat that pill and chew it. The big thing is that you're going to go through moments where you're stressed and alone, and make sure you set those goals and make sure you know exactly what those goals are. Like literally to the point where my current goal, I changed my password to what that goal is. Like for the longest time, I wanted a new bike. And I'm not talking about like just a little kiddie bike for $500. I wanted a new bike. Like when you put my bikes on the car, they're worth more than the car. So I wanted this new bike and it just wasn't in the budget. It wasn't in the plan. I didn't really know, but I just start continually refreshing my mind of those goals and knowing exactly what I want. I know the details of the bike. I know how much it's going to cost. It's like if you want a new car, you need to know how much the insurance is. You need to know how much the gas is going to be. Like if you want to buy a plane one day, you got to know all the details, right? And then reversing that back to what your business is going to do and how you're going to get there. And then making sure along that way, you've got the rest of your pillars in life, right? You've got whatever your spirituality, your fitness and stuff. And you've seen a lot of changes in me recently. You've got to have that time to sit alone and make sure that you're on track and throw away the distractions, because otherwise you will, again, you don't know if you're going left or right. You'll get distracted. Like I said, with me with the podcast mics, like I was distracted. Like so it's hard to not want to start 3 other businesses. It's hard not to get distracted by the little things. Just repackage what you already know. Make sure you're aligned with your goals.
I really like that, man. It's like measure it backwards. Daniel, that's what he talks about. It's kind of measure it backwards, looking at what have you actually done? When you first started, right? Like those small little wins, and then you could jot those down, and you could, instead of looking at what you don't have right now. And that's I think most people who are like looking to grow a big business, they always look at the sort of the future, but it's like look at the past and look at where you came from. Like being grateful, I think gratitude is like the most important one. Especially being young, I didn't even realize what gratitude really was. I'm like, I gotta be good. But then you realize yes, you have to, because like you're making your first $1,000 on your 5,000. Like every stage is like you have to be grateful.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So I think the goals thing is really important. We do it with our staff as well in our office. We are building it for our technicians. I think that it's really important to look 3 years into the future and say, what does 3 years look like? I'll take this from Lewis Mocker. He has a coil, cost of ideal lifestyle. It's like, what are your goals in 3 years? Do you have them written down? Do you know the cost of them? But like, really, do you?
Yeah, that's a powerful question. For me, it's ultimately the biggest one was growing the business. It's like that's the bread and butter,
right? It's so arbitrary, though.
Yeah.
It's so woo woo, right?
I think it's the business is what follows the dream, but ultimately though it's like because I have family, so I have people that I came in with a single parent mom, so being able to provide a business where I can support her, right? Being able, she doesn't have to work, she doesn't have to do anything.
But what's that cost?
Yeah, it's gonna cost a lot.
But what does it? Like, you don't need to say it right here, right now. But like, what's it cost? Do you have it written down?
Like how much? Like it's gonna be probably say a lot of failures, a lot of.
But you have it written down.
Yeah. Like somewhere back in my
mind.
Yeah. But I have some type of goal or structure.
Right. It's like if we don't have it written down, though, I think that's like a big thing. It's like, not only do I have it written down, I change my my password on my computer. So every time I log in, I have it on the back of my screensaver for the next car I want, right? I have it everywhere, like on my desktop. It's there.
Nice. No, I like the way you kind of hold about it. I think Napoleon Hill talks about sort of rewiring your brain to see it multiple times. I think you can go rich where you read again what you want. So for me, I'm more of a guy who I set up my goals like my 5, but I don't look at them as much. So you just reinforced it.
Yeah. Sorry to challenge you. I was fun, but it's like, I think a lot of people, they don't write them down. You kind of know what you might want, but if you can't envision it, you can't see, and you don't know the steps to get there, it's like, how do you reverse engineer it?
Yeah. So you sort of you're borrowing right now. I'm dealing with a thing where trying to find my next lead. It's kind of that.
Yeah.
Trying to find my next lead. And the craziest part is I actually had to read it down.
Good. Yeah.
Where I can kind of see it, but there's that fear, there's that like that scares you because you're running this business and you're like the mindset of the operations and then having to go through so many challenges and then someone told me like maybe it can be a good thing for you because I know you're also a husband as well too. So it's just like I can't really envision it because I'm just going through so much day-to-day stuff. Especially being an athlete, just so how I take my pain into a player is more of just I go play sports, I work out. That's kind of how I burn a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's maybe you could tell me how that's been like for you. But I know you're a husband, man. How long has that been for you?
We've been together for 17 years. Yeah.
What's that journey been like?
Oh, that's just as many ups and downs as business, right? I think it's every year we do a goal planning together. We meet every week at the start of the week to plan our lives. We have a shared calendar, she keeps me aligned with my fitness goals. It's super important.
Nice, man. So you're not just looking at it from a business standpoint, where it's like, how can we grow mentally, spiritually, and, physically? Like, it's kind of the...
Yeah, I definitely take a lot of, like, you talk about growing up in North End, Winnipeg. Like, I ran away from Winnipeg to move to Regina to switch parents. Like, and we all have those struggles. So I think a lot of the way I've structured the business and structured my mindset was like, how do I not create a whole bunch of massive stress? Right.
Yeah.
So the way that I've structured my life is like, how much time do I want the business to consume me? And the less the business consumes me, the more dialed in I am with my staff when I'm there, and the more dialed in I am with the vision and the direction we need to go. And I'm not distracted by those day-to-day operational oopsies that someone was kind of rude to someone on the phone. I don't have to be distracted by that. I can now align that with a manager, and I can make sure that like I'm going in fresh so that the office gets my best person. I can go in, I can sleep in the morning. Like, I was like, bro, you can't have me here before 11 a bit. I'm crawling out of bed at 10:30, right? And so I've structured my life so that I can be the best person for my wife, for my office staff. I can keep the vision and make sure we're on track and where we're going, because and this year better than ever, like I had the chance to really step back this year because of where we're at and take that time to run and work out and so on and so forth. And the more you like figure out all those pillars of spirituality, your relationships, your community, and your health, it seems woo-woo at the start, but once you get to a point when you can actually see where those goals align, you can actually start plopping it into your calendar and working your way backwards.
No, what you mean? Funny enough, you showed me your calendar, so I know exactly.
Yeah,
about.
Yeah, I know nothing before 11.
Yeah. So it's all transparency. But Daniel, tell me, but I know you're a leader because you meet a stack of people, and what's that process been like when you're hiring you? Because I've realized now I met so many different people. You're just a straight shooter, man. You don't like to go around the bushes. You're like, tell me what is it, and tell me right now. Because I think nowadays a lot of people do sort of getting the fluffs and let's do this, let's do that. But you're like, let's set a time. We're gonna meet at this was Thursday. at this time, and you're like, this is my cat. Like, you want it to actually be transparent. Most people are like, oh, let me think about it. Let me do this. Should we talk later? It's like, you're just about it. I'm guessing you take that approach into what you're building.
Everywhere. I feel so sorry for some people that come for interviews with me. It's like they're expecting a half-hour interview, and they're like 2.5 hours later, and like I'll spend that extra time with people and make sure that I kind of really know where they're at, really know where. Like I'm looking to hire a video editor right now, and that poor guy was like, "What am I doing here?" I'm like, "You've never had an interview like this, hey?" And he's like, "No." I'm like asking what his systems and processes are. It's like, I don't want to manage another video editor. I want to hire a company. And I like told him that. I'm like, you don't have an onboarding process. Like, what's wrong? Like, where's your onboarding process? If you're just going to do it one-on-one because I talked to you and you might like, he might be the best video editor in the world, but if I have to chase him to make sure that like my office staff is sending him videos, then he's just another employee. I'm never rude to people, but I'm direct, right? Kind of that Dan Pena type personality there.
And I think, because I know what you're talking about as well too, and sometimes we don't forget what people are and what level they are, but you think everybody's the same.
Yeah.
Right. If you operate with these being the same, you're always going to get the same results. Like if you have the same habits you did last year and you didn't evolve, then you're always going to get this. I think it's so, when I hear that, I'm like, what am I doing to make that even better? Like you talk about onboarding, because without the right systems in place, you really can't look at it as a business, right? So it's like,
I'll actually talk to that. I think you brought this up a couple of times, but I didn't go into it enough. The way I hired before and the way we will probably hire now is going to be much different. My ability to manage 4 to 5 people, like I'm done at 5. I can't manage. I can get the information from my head to their head, communicating and teaching and coaching one-on-one. I have some systems we have systems and processes, but like they never really learn it until they're in the trenches in the middle of the spring rush and things are going crazy and you got massive reps. And I had a really good opportunity where like I have the most amazing relationship with my office staff. We travel. I've taken my Honduran I've visited him in Honduras. We're going to San Diego. We went to Mexico together, like the most amazing relationship. We went to Spokane, like it was his first time in the US. So like I have these amazing relationships, but they only go so far without the systems. So we'll probably be transitioning to the systems more and more because that's the only way to scale. I need them to understand the systems and how I built the relationship with them. So they have relationships underneath them. But ultimately, I think the coolest part is that like at the earlier stage in business, you have the opportunity to build those relationships with people and if you're really hiring someone for a role and they're going to be a core player, like a half-hour interview is not enough. You really need to make sure the vibe is right? Like it's like a relationship with a partner. You need to make sure that you're doing like 2-hour interviews or you're doing trials with people because you don't really understand who someone else is until you've spent a certain number of hours with them. And like 2 hours is the bar minimum for an interview for me. If I'm going to hire someone, like in the team, like a core member. And then usually, if you don't have that time for whatever reason, or you just hire someone right away, typically know within 2 weeks if someone's going to be perfect or not. I'm getting rid of people within 2 weeks.
So you just straight up, this is what it is. This is the business, this is the plan. I've actually dealt with that too, where what about, let's say you invest time into this person, you really help them out, I think sometimes I have a confusion where I treat business, you are like a family, like someone, because my character is very like, I'm a people's person. So I think there has to be like a demeanor shift where sometimes we might have to change that because now we're in business, right? Probably would take advantage of that. So there's been incidents where it's happened to me a couple of times, but then I always reflect and I look back. Okay, as someone who is linear, I have the accountability. What did I do wrong? And it's just because I treated them like brothers, and whatever it was. But you realize I like your process because if you don't have an actual process of hiring people and talking to them, sometimes you can spend so much hours and you spend so much time with this person. You think they're part of the team, but if you don't give them accountability or tasks, it's going to be very tough.
We got to have those metrics.
Yeah.
I mean, I hired the most compassionate, loving, amazing, uh, very detail-oriented office person, my aunt. She is the most wonderful person. Us working together, it's like it didn't work because I didn't have those metrics set up. I didn't have the ability to, like, how do you give crap to your aunt who took care of you for parts of your life, right? Like, so the advantage is that, I mean, with my aunt, it's like I can't be harsh with my aunt, but like there is some times when you have the relationship with your staff and you treat it like a family, it's a little bit easier to be direct sometimes, right? Those filters are kind of a weird thing, but at the end of the day, if that's what you're running your business on, it's like you can't get upset with someone. It's going to be a hard place to work, and you can't let them go if you're doing it over emotion, right? It's like you're killing a relationship then, right? But if you've got the metrics, that's why I'm saying like 2-hour interviews, they're probably going to drop, right? But then we're going to have systems and procedures and scorecards, and they're going to know that before they show up. And it's like, you don't hit the scorecard. Well,
in 2 weeks,
sorry, right? I mean, we're not here to build a business to hire our friends or our family. We're here to build a business so the business supports our friends and our family, right? They're separate and they need to be separate. Otherwise, you'll stalemate, right? You'll stale in the business because you can't grow it.
Yeah, that's one that you learn very hard, especially the friends one. Like I tried hiring a friend and it didn't work out very well because they felt like there's that past, because they felt like they know you from back in the day, and they forget that we're not operating a business. Things have changed.
You're a different person at work, right?
So many things moving apart. But Daniel, tell me, man, I like how you talked about giving people that experience. And you're also a bigger to the community as well too. I see that your business is always out there. Supporting different people and kind of, because I think the business that you're in the pet industry, so it's like a lot of people need your service. I'm guessing you're taking at it and putting it in the fun. So how has that journey been like? To a lot of people, they build a business to make money, but you're doing it more than this money. You're essentially getting back and being out there, people, the community aspect.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the relationship we have with vets offices or nonprofits. Those are awesome. I think at the core, like I volunteer with cadets, I do those things that are not even connected to the business. But the main core of it is that I've built a business that can take someone like myself, who might have not had every opportunity thrown at them, and obviously enough opportunity though, that I've been able to build my character, who I am, and build my education. But I'm taking the opportunity to show other people that maybe they're undereducated. Maybe they come from a shitty situation. Maybe in a job that they've had, and maybe they're really well taken care of, but then they've just had jobs before them that they didn't go anywhere. And I think that's really important for me personally, because there were a lot of people in my life who supported me, who believed in me, who had the ability to see some shine, and that maybe I was just lost, right? Maybe I was going to be undereducated. And now I've had the ability to teach myself. And I always say to myself, like, we just bought a coaching program, very expensive coaching program for my office. And I was like, guys, I spent a lot of money on this, but don't do it for me, because the only thing, even if the business crumbles tomorrow or you get fired or whatever, the only thing I can't take away from you is what you've learned. And I think that's super motivating to me, because there were people that helped me.
That's powerful, man, because learning is like the foundation to everything. And earlier you talked about how you started being a student, and you marketing, you get a lot of investments there. But tell me, as a founder, I see that you don't really do a lot of the social media and the content creation stuff.
Yeah.
These people are on LinkedIn, they're on Instagram. I do a lot of TikTok stuff, and but what's that been like? Because you're very good at what you do, man. You're very wise, and people want to hear from. I'm gonna say build a personal brand. That's Gary B. I'm guessing you probably built in the Gary, Russell Brunson, all of these guys who talk about marketing, right? To
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question, because ultimately, if you've reverse engineered your goals, you know how much you need to work. And I think a lot of what people are doing is like, I've done a lot of social media. I've been on like 2 podcasts, I think. This will be the second. But you've seen me on podcasts. You've seen me on the internet, and people don't reuse their content. It's like, I know that I don't need to do 50 million videos, because I know that that's not going to help me reach that goal. It's just going to be the distraction. I know that I don't need to record a new ad every year, because the one from 5 years ago hits our metrics. I reuse. You don't have to always like rinse and repeat what's working. Yeah.
No, I like it, man. And I'm the content guy, so I think the biggest thing is in the beginning. For me, it's more of like documenting the process. I believe you have a business nowadays, because I think everybody's like, because I'm in the phone business. I tell people, like, people need phones more than transportation nowadays. So people are always going to be on the phone. So how can you utilize social media to build trust? So earlier you talked about I grew up in the North End, so I don't really talk a lot about the product, because I think there's so many, we sell iPhones, but there's like an iPhone 10, 15, 14.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about what model it is. They care about, the story of how you started this business and where becoming as an immigrant, a single parent mom. That's kind of where I really touch on when it comes to marketing. And you see a lot of people who are in my business, a lot of them are just promoting the product, which is the phone, but you realize no one is buying your phones because they want to buy you. So you are essentially the brand. But I think going back to content, it's important to have a system around it. Because like you said, there's no system, there's no way to, I actually have a calendar. So I have a calendar that I actually look at before, like every Sunday I'll have, okay, Shadi, what am I going to post this week? Because then I'll just be running the business and be doing multiple things. So, and that's something that I had to struggle in the beginning. So I structure that out every Sunday. I kind of look at, okay, what do I want to talk about? And then I'll have a whole full calendar. So then I know Monday I'm posting this, Tuesday. So if you don't have a way to do it that way, essentially you just be, kind of just operating the business and be using the stretch. So that's where, in the beginning, that's where I could see where you're coming from, where you're just trying to do multiple things. But I think without the right system in anything that you're doing, in the gym, in just, your business, even in your marriage as well, too. Like if there's no systems in place, that's why I think earlier, the thing you're talking about goals, I think nowadays I don't really focus on goals anymore. I realize now, like, especially being the young guys, at the beginning, I wanted to start a business. I wanted to have this car, but you realize like it's about what systems, that repeatable system that you could do every single day. For me, it's waking up in the morning. I'm actually an early bird guy, so I go to the gym 6 a.m. So those routines that you build out, and people realize like that's early, but that's kind of right. That those are systems that I built out, because then I know, okay, I got to do this and I got to go meet a customer at this time. And I think that's one of the things that I realized, being a person who, a couple of years ago just had, didn't know what the hell he was doing, waking up at random days. And, so tell me a little bit about kind of that. What's that been like? Because I know you're very well already. You have a calendar here,
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the big thing that I hear you saying is you're building out a system in order to keep you organized to continue to do work. And that's great if you systematize it and then you hand it off, right? The only reason why we see Alex Hormozy doing different videos is because he's selling different things. He built up his brand, he taught us about business, and now he's using that goodwill to teach us about the different products and things that he's in. And he's looking to build that portfolio. So I believe that that's the reason why we're seeing him do those things. But he's not going to build 30 videos for school every day for the next 365 days. So what you're doing is wonderful. And what we've done in the past, let me just break down the structure. It's like if I do, and Facebook is a really good way to like throttle yourself back. Because if you're running ads, for example, on Facebook, you've got about a 90-day window in order to retarget your people, right? You're familiar? So you really need 90 pieces of content. So over the next 365 days, you do 365 pieces of content and you cycle up your top piece of content and you cycle down your worst and you kick it out. And then you pull in one of those other pieces of content, that 91 piece of content, and then you see where it lands on that structure. And then that way, at the end of a year, some of that's on autopilot. Now you can take your step back. You can think about where you want to go. You can look at your goals and you can say, oh, I got that banger at the top and it's my top of funnel. And all the rest of the pieces of content are those 4 pillars, me talking about the 4 pillars or different types of fear of loss marketing, all those different things. If you've got those pillars in there, then it becomes really easy to step back and take the time to breathe.
Mm-hmm. I like that, man. Because you're an ass guy, I could tell, because hear them. Debates. But no, then that's what, and most people probably have no idea what that even is. But going back to you being a student and being a learner, being to earlier you said something that you want your people that you're working with to take away the learning aspect. Guessing you've had so many mentors. I know you met Lopez, you met Russell Blitzman, and all the. What's one key takeaway you've taken from all these successful? Because you're always in these rooms, right? You're investing into yourself. You're going into coaching programs. What's that though like? Because most people nowadays they have what I like to call a scarcity mindset, but they don't want to invest into themselves, and then they realize why they're not growing. Essentially,
I think other people have said like paying for coaching gives you the opportunity to expedite your learning. It's like I can learn it all, or I can pay to learn it faster. I think another thing that people get lost in is the learning at stage like year 1 versus year 15 is often very similar, but it's how you're hearing it in that moment, and it's how you're hearing it for that part of your business. And it's not recycling. It's just, I mean, it is somewhat recycling, but it's recycling it for the stage you're in. I went to acquisition.com in Vegas to see Alex and his team speak, and I took their course. It's $5,000 US for 2 days. By the time you're done, you're there, you're gone for 4 days, you spent $10,000. It's like, that's a lot of money. That being said, the first day I was like, oh, why am I here? Like, I've heard this all before. I've heard it from Alex Sharfin. I've heard it from Russell Brunson. I've heard it all before. Day 2, it's like, oh, wait, I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening at my stage in business. Now I get it. So I had to like open my mind day 2 to be like, why am I being on my high horse? But I was waiting for that, or that moment was going to come to me when I realized that it was in my stage. I couldn't be just arrogant to that I know this, right? And now we're taking another course from someone else on the exact same thing, because most of these people are designing these courses in their own manner based on the book Traction, right? It's like Traction is always going to be that main structure. It's the same way Elon Musk runs his businesses. It's the same way Alex Hormozi runs, right? But it's like, could I do Traction the same way and with the same open mind year 1 as I am now? No, it's not going to happen. But I have to keep my mind open to like where I'm at. And sometimes we need the repetition.
So it's like really just, it's going for that experience, but also to getting the aha moment. Like, I only heard this before, and I think it's more about the act. When you pay $5,000, now you're like, sometimes. Yeah. But I think that's what most people don't know about. It's like, like you said, why would I pay that much? But it's like, now you have to really go and apply what you finally learned. But I like how he said that it's the principles, like going back and Traction, Regina Wickman. There's so many. I think I'm in the same boat where I listen to so many podcasts that I realize I've already heard this so many times. This already hurts being reinforced again. But Daniel, tell me, man, what does the future look like for what you're building with Poo Crew, and what you see, the next 5 years? I know you're gonna really.
5 years.
I know you have that stuff written down.
Of course. So our goals right now with the business, specifically, is to get into the US. I'm starting to do podcasts now because I get super nervous on stage. So I'd like to speak at a Pooper Scooper conference. There's now like a big, massive Pooper Scooper conference that is really good. I have some personal things I want to buy. That's the nuts and bolts. I want to spend more time traveling. Those are the things. That's like goes back to like the whole, hey, I can't put my family in the business to help my family. I need to run my business so that my business helps my family.
I like it, man. Then you're also a consultant,
Not really.
Are you gonna go with? Because teaching is like, it's like you talked about earlier, the patience, the really seeing. Like you requires. And I'm saying you're kind of a person who's just like, this is what you have to do. So you have to reinforce it again. But you have so much acknowledgement.
I dream and love to be a consultant, but you know what? I can't because it doesn't hit those metrics and goals. It takes up too much of my time. It's just a big distraction. So sure, my website's there. It says I do that. That was a distraction making some of those videos, right? I'm just building that for my portfolio of like who I am so that if one day Poo Crew is completely self-reliant on my staff and I don't need to be there every day and I don't need to be in the trenches, then maybe I'll do something else. But right now I got to stay in my lane, right? Got to stay in my lane and make sure that I'm going to be successful in my goals.
Yeah. No, I really like this conversation, Daniel. I think it really enforced that really just the focus and clarity of looking at exactly what you have to do to get done. Because so many people could tell you, do that, do this, do that, right? It's like, you know exactly what you want. And that's, that I can imagine that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to remember to write down those goals. So
Exactly.
that's what you got to do. I'm going to go home and do the same thing.
Exactly. So it's a real enforcement that I have to kind of put in, especially being like 26 and being a young guy. How old are you, Daniel?
Oh, God, this is 39.
39.
This will be in the podcast.
Yeah.
You should have asked me before. Yeah, 39.
Yeah, 39. So I'm a young guy. I'm like, when you say this stuff, I'm like, it better hit because, like, you know, we're going to come back on this in, 5 years or so. Going to be like, okay, Daniel was really saying this. And I think that's kind of the thing about being an entrepreneur is being like that subconscious mind. Like, we're going to probably lead this podcast and probably going to remember some of the things you said.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me, what I've noticed with you is you're not just doing this podcast for everyone else. You're doing this podcast for you. I think that's really important. And I think that that's something you should continue to really make sure that you can be like, I'm doing this podcast today for me to look back on in 5 years. And if you do it for you, then the other people will get value from it. Because a lot of people are at my stage, and I'm not like, a lot of people are at your stage, a lot of people are at my stage, and there's a lot of people ahead of me, right? So you're helping those people at your stage.
Wow.
And if you just do the podcast for yourself, I think that's the core of the reason why you do it. I can see it in how you ask questions. I think it's super important. Just do it for yourself.
Wow, man. I didn't even think about that perspective and really just, because I'm learning too. Like
Absolutely.
I'm genuinely learning because that's kind of, I think that's, most people forget, like, that's the foundation to everything. So when you're talking and telling me this, I'm like, okay, this is sticking. This is very good. So Daniel, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. And where can people find you, Daniel?
They can Google my name, Daniel Diment, or if they want pooper scooping, poocrew.ca. Yeah, that's it.
There you go.
Nothing crazy. I don't have a book to sell. I'm not selling coaching and consulting.
Also, too, Daniel is open for more podcasts.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, for sure. I need to practice this public speaking. And as well, just like, if anyone's got business questions, I'm here to give back, just like I do with my volunteering, right? Just like, yeah. You reach out to me.
Yeah. So much, Daniel. So this is the Ride Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Daniel Diment, and thank you so much, bro. We'll stay in touch and we'll keep building relationships.
Yeah.
Man.
Awesome.